Do you want to know how to teach children social skills? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, and child development. I teach these things all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about social skills. We're going to be talking about intelligences. We're going to be talking about the 3 ways that people learn social and why that even matters, and then some key skills that you can teach your children so that they can succeed socially. Social skills fall into the category of practical intelligence. So we all have multiple intelligences. We have spiritual intelligence, academic intelligence, social intelligence, which would be part of practical intelligence, and then we have emotional intelligence, which basically means that there are all these different parts to creating the whole person, and you have to develop each one of those parts. So what is practical intelligence or social intelligence? Honestly, it's one of the greatest of the intelligences when it comes to creating an impact. Social impact is actually what leads to success in business, impact for good in a society. It's the social impact that actually helps a person be able to live with purpose, usually in life. The first start of our social development starts in the family unit. The family is the first social unit of society. And if that social unit is not working, the practical intelligence or social intelligence of the person is actually at risk of not developing properly. Now, schools are always talking about social skills and how important it is that the children have the social, and I know this because my father was a public school teacher and I chose to homeschool my children. That was a scandalous thing, right? I remember him saying to me, but what about the social? And he was so worried about that. And the more and more I looked at the social, the more I realized that I did want to do well by my children when it came to social, but I knew that what was happening in the schools was actually not proper social. In fact, our children were struggling socially more than ever before, and I wanted to make sure that my children didn't have that same type of situation. Plus, there were other reasons that we chose to homeschool our children. But anyway, I guess the point is I've put a lot of thought into social. I also, for many years, took in treatment children. They were troubled youth. They were all between the ages of 12 and 18, and most of them struggled socially. I can really only remember one of the foster children that we had come through our home who didn't struggle socially. For all of the rest of them, we were always talking about social goals that they would have so that we could help them work on their social intelligence so that they could have more success practically in life. So in Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell talks about the power of practical intelligence. He cites the story of Steve Jobs and the Apple company and talks about how important Steve Jobs was to the company. It wasn't really his programming skills that were so powerful. His friend had great programming skills, but in time, his friend actually got kicked out of the company, that they kept Steve Jobs, and it wasn't for his computer prowess, but it was because of his ability to talk to people, to raise money, to work with investors, and things like that. That was his practical intelligence. Practical intelligence is your communication skills, your problem-solving skills, your ability to ignite movement or to get people going in a certain direction. This would be your leadership capacity. Those types of things would all be classified as your practical intelligence skills. And as we know, all of those practical intelligence skills are social skills. So what's included in this practical intelligence or social skills set of things that we need? Well, we need to be able to look at people when we talk to them. We need to be able to communicate in an effective way. We need to value other people that are around us. We need to know how to instruct other people to do things in a way that they want to take action. If we have a disagreement with somebody, we need to know how to solve it in a way that is very civil and understanding. So we should be caring, understanding, forgiving, humble, repentant. All of these types of things actually create the recipe for great social skills. And being able to be accepting of people's differences. That's another thing. So that means that we wouldn't be controlling everyone around you so that they make you feel comfortable is actually bad social skills. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but in our society nowadays, we actually have a problem with people trying to control everyone else. They say, I feel uncomfortable, so you need to do this, and you need to do this, and you need to do this. This is bad social training. This actually creates social reactivity. When a person is socially reactive, that means that they're waiting for social circumstances to react to, and they are not necessarily favorably reacting. Many of my foster children were socially reactive. They felt like things were happening to them, and so they would wait for the social and then base their reactions off of that, and oftentimes lead to power struggles or arguments with people because they were waiting to react to social instead of to do the opposite of reacting, which would be to be proactive. So the fact that you're watching a video about how to teach social skills to children tells me that you understand that this is a proactive process. And indeed it is. In fact, everything I teach at teachingselfgovernment.com is proactive, principle-based, skills-based. It's all something that you teach a person ahead of time. So we're going to be talking about some key skills that you can teach your children. But first, if any of this stuff seems like it could be interesting to you, I highly recommend subscribing to this channel. Then you'll learn a whole lot more than I can give you in just this one video. Years ago, I saw a play, one of my favorites actually, called 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. In the play 7 Brides for 7 Brothers, we have these backwoodsmen who do not have the practical intelligence and social skills needed to woo the girls that they are in love with. And this is a source of frustration to them. They end up in fist fights and stuff like that. And so their big sister, Millie, decides, because she has been raised in town and she married their brother, Adam, she decides that she is going to train them socially how to court girls, how to start conversations with people, how to rein themselves in so that they are more civilized, more socially acceptable. In fact, that really is a key thing there. When a person is socially acceptable, it's usually because they are civilized. We usually think a person is lacking in social skills when they behave in an uncivilized manner. We are in danger right now in our society of embracing more and more incivility than we are in embracing civilized behavior. This is concerning to me. People are becoming more and more wild, and we're congratulating them for that. We are treating the destruction of relationships as a norm for our society instead of trying to heal them, work on ourselves. We really are looking for excuses and scapegoats right now so that we don't have to control ourselves, and that is a slippery slope for a society to be on. So what did Millie do? Millie decided when she was going to teach her brothers, well, all brothers-in-law actually, that she was going to teach them social skills, that she started teaching them how to talk to girls and how to dance and how to court. Now, all of us can learn social one of 3 ways. There's really only 3 ways. Either A, we learn social skills from our family, from our parents, just like the Pontaby brothers learned social from Millie. Or B, we learn our social skills from same age peers. And if you've seen the play 7 Brides for 7 Brothers, then you will also notice that there are multiple moments where the Pontabys are not having good social interactions with the other young men that are probably their same ages from the town. They're having fist fights and arguments. This would be how they would learn from the other boys that are their same age. So this shows us that's probably not the right way. And then the third way to learn is from the media. So from whatever we have around us, books or online, digital, TV, plays, music. That would be another way that we would learn our social. So if we are going to learn our social, one of those three ways, what way would you pick for your children? Many people, without ever even thinking about it, think that their children need to learn social from friends, and so they foster that. But actually, friends are for something else. My husband and I decided that our children needed to learn social by being close to family and parents, and that they would use their relationships with friends for practice. That's going to be the social practice, so they can practice holding on to their social skills when they are with people outside of the family arrangement, outside of home. And this proved to be very good. My children ended up having a lot of confidence with their peers, with other adults. They never had a hard time talking to adults or other people that were older than them because they had such great social training. They learned how to talk to their mother and father, their grandparents, aunts, uncles, neighbors. All of the adults in their sphere of influence were on the table as far as people to socialize with. And so they developed properly as far as social development goes. So let me share with you some key things that the Teaching Self-Government Parenting system can help you with when it comes to teaching your children social skills that they need, because this will help their practical intelligence. So we teach 4 basic skills to children in the Teaching Self-Government system. These children's books each teach one of the 4 basic skills. London LeRae teaches following instructions. Big Win for Quinn teaches accepting consequences. Paige Takes the Stage teaches disagreeing appropriately. And Porter Earns a Quarter teaches accepting no answers and criticism. These 4 books that you can find at teachingselfgovernment.com teach your children and reinforce with your children how to communicate in effective ways with friends and family and other people like coaches and teachers in their life. When a person learns those 4 basic skills, that takes care of 99% of their behavioral problems. What can these 4 basic skills do for your children? Well, let's just take one of the skills as a for instance. Let's take disagreeing appropriately. That was that purple book. When a person learns to disagree appropriately, they can look at the person, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say that they understand the other person's point of view, share their point of view, listen to what the other person has to say okay, and then drop the subject. Think what that would do for their interactions with their parents. Think what that would do with siblings who are trying to discuss whose turn it is to play a certain game. What if they could disagree appropriately with each other? What about friends who say, well, if I can't do this, I'm not going to play with you anymore? What if they say, okay, I know that you don't want to play anymore if you don't get to do things your way, but here's my point of view. Let's talk about this. What if they can open conversation instead of just focus on controlling and shutting people down, which is what most children do with their communications when they're trying to solve problems? Well, then they would be incredibly mature. Their practical intelligence would be developing at a rate that most children are not. For years, I took in treatment children to do treatment foster care in my home, and I taught these 4 basic skills to the youth ages 12 to 18. By the way, the children starting at like 18 months can start to learn these skills. So my granddaughter, she's not even 2 yet, and she's been using all of these skills for a number of months. She's really great at them. Just so you know, they're for all ages. But I took in troubled teens. They learned and mastered these 4 basic skills, and suddenly they were happier. They had good relationships. They could transition out of my level of care, which was high level of care. We helped them fix relationships with family members. They really accomplished so many things. Their academics improved. Everything improves if you know self-mastery. Self-government is the #1 practical intelligence skill. If you have control over yourself, if you can direct yourself by giving yourself instruction, no answers, if you can accept consequences and discuss with people in a very appropriate, like disagree appropriately type way, then you are opening the door for yourself wide to have great relationships and increased maturity. In order to learn more about these skills, I highly recommend going to the next video, which is a full-length class called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. Click on the link to that video now, and you can learn more about these skills and others.